What's up, everybody? This is Robert, and you are listening to Dads in Real Life podcast. We are two dads, 10 years apart, talking all things fatherhood, from diapers to dream projects and everything in between. On today's episode, Travis and Robert discuss how they lighten the mental load and stress of the never-ending to-do list. Their approach differs in tools and setup, but ultimately leads to the same results: more time with family and less time playing catch-up. Say it takes 20 minutes, and it does take 3 hours. Everything else that was planned, not by you, but by your spouse, maybe kid activities, are now pushed back. This podcast is provided ad-free thanks to listener support. Go to patreon.com/dadsinreallife to help keep it independent and to get exclusive access to live streams, behind the scenes, and more content every month. Yes.
Today's topic,
Mm-hmm.
very serious business.
Uh-oh.
Not really. That's not serious.
That's not our
It's
style.
close. It's good stuff. And
Okay.
I think we're gonna learn something. I can already tell that we're gonna learn something from Rob today. I'm
Ooh.
pumped. Okay.
That's a big claim, sir. That's a big claim, but I'll do my best. More
Get ready.
anecdotal, but I'll do my
Okay.
best. Yes.
So you go through life in seasons, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a season for this, there's a season for that. And I would say this year for me, 2025, has been a season of paring down, like kind of cleaning shop, literally
Yeah.
and figuratively. So I thought let's talk with the dads out there about what it looks like to cross things off the list, to organize, like, so we can go into a couple different channels here, jump out and in wherever we want.
Yeah, we'll just go with the flow. Like
But
you said.
I want to hear how your workflow goes when it comes to um, relieving the mental load. And I want to have our own podcast about mental load as well. But right now, I just want to say, okay, you have your list. You have the things that you have to do. So
Yeah.
what is it? What does it look like for Rob on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis as far as trying to clear the list? And I know it's not possible to clear the list because the list goes on and on and on, right?
Forever.
But this year has been such this feeling of like, I just want to get my arms around what we have. And if I can't reach all the way around, it means I got too much physically, metaphorically, right?
Mhm.
So what do we need to trim? What do we need to get rid of? What do we need to improve or forget about?
Yeah, that's a great topic, and I think it goes into mental load. I think it's something everyone should be doing whateverly, like quarterly, monthly, yearly. But yeah, I can give an example of what I do personally, and then we'll just kind of go from there. But yes, I have a list. I have a daily list. I've got a monthly list. I've got a quarterly list, and then I've got a yearly list. And the list isn't like I chunk them, not just a forever ending like to-do list, right? So there are areas of work, areas of family, areas of self-care, or like maybe a side project or a hobby I'm into. And so there's separate lists, and depending on the priorities of the day, the month, the year, the list can shift, right? So that being said, any of these lists get done, and the only way they get done is because I have a daily routine and schedule, right? So I block out times in the morning to work on non-family, non-work stuff, because throughout the day, a lot of us have a traditional 9 to 5, or if not, if you're working from home, you still have a work schedule where you do the work stuff, right? So for me, having alarm set in the Google Calendar, I work off a calendar that allows me to do like a weekly check-in, and it's really easy. Like, did I do the top 2 things I wanted to do this week? Yes, great. What worked? What can I carry over as far as habits for next week? No. Why didn't it work? Okay, what are the habits I need to change? Because a lot of it has to do with the habits around the task, not necessarily how big or small the task is, right? And so that's kind of the weekly. The monthly is just like I have 3 things in each of the categories, and it might be different for some people, but did I do those 3 things that month? And those 3 things are usually broken down into smaller weekly chunks that I can kind of track. And I have a tracker that I use for all that stuff that I kind of check at the end of the day to set up my to-do for the following day. I know I'm jumping from
Look
week
like a
to month and down.
list. Does that look almost just like a list that you're checking off
Yeah,
boxes?
let's back out, let's zoom out
Yeah.
even bigger. Like, and how do I collect everything that's coming at me a million miles a minute that my spouse tells me to do, a client tells me to do, I told myself to do? Don't forget this, Rob, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
So it starts two areas. One, it could just literally be on the phone, notepad on the phone. I go throughout the day. Don't forget this. Don't forget this. Don't forget this. At the end of the day, spend 5 to 10 minutes organizing that list, right? And it's organized in a software because I'm very software heavy, text heavy. That's just how I work. My spouse has a notepad, right? She does something a little bit different. But in that, I subcategory the task in categories. So is this for my life, right? Is this for personal development? Is this for work? Is this for family? And then when within those categories, there's a priority with a due date. So is this something like updating homeowners insurance, right? Like that has a due date or
Yeah.
there's a fine. So making sure that I put a due date on there, make sure that it's multiple days prior to that due date to check that it's done. Other things might be like fix the toilet. Okay, that's a home category. When's the due date on that? I can give myself 2 weeks, right? Maybe it's not a priority. And then I prioritize each thing. Is it high priority, low priority, or middle? And again, I'm very much analytical. So this is just what works for me. You could definitely thin this version out for you, right? Is it home, work, or personal? Do I need to do it this week or can I push it off? Like that's an easier version of it. And
Yeah.
so within those categories, there are lists, but it's not forever ending. Like, hey, does this need to be done immediately? Do I need to do this thing? Or can I delegate to someone else? And that's kind of within the workspace or even home. So for instance, like we need to clean out the garage. Well, that's kind of my space. Well, we need to research new sprinkler system, which we need to do. Well, am I the only one that could be doing that? Should be doing that? No. Then I'll tag Mo on that too, right? So then we're both working on the same project, so to speak. And so that's another good way to think about it. Think of it as project categories. So there's home projects, personal projects, work projects, so on and so forth. So there's an urgency kind of category for those things. There's a theme like homework, and then there's a deadline. And so for me, the deadline keeps me honest on these things so that I can review back to make sure they're due, or else we all get to that deadline where like, oh my goodness, I'm late on this, I'm late on that, I need to do this. Oh, and my kids got volleyball practice. So by having the deadlines and kind of checking in and using software nowadays, it can give you notifications, so on and so forth. So that's kind of what the day to day, week to week, month to month, I try to do 1 to 2 big things.
You know what? Let me cut
Yeah,
you off real quick before we
go
dive
for it.
into that. You mentioned something that I want to just throw a little pro tip in there too
Yeah,
for
yeah,
all
yeah.
the dads out there. Um, you're implying that that these things, and you're saying that you are communicating those with Mo often, like
Yes.
all the time as well. So that communication line is back and forth, and it's happening.
Not
Uh,
only that, the documentation of that is shared. So it's not
yeah,
just like my list. So the way it does is like I have this, I know Travis is a Trello fan. Like, so however you want to organize your list and stuff. And
yeah,
then when it gets to the to-do dates, that's shared on a Google Calendar between us. So that she knows what roughly my month looks like, week looks like. She knows what my focuses of the day of the week are. And so if something she's requesting help on kind of matches that theme, yeah, just I'm already working on the garage this weekend. So what else do you need? Well, we need new tires for the car. Okay, that kind of matches that. And so she knows what I'm doing and she does her version, but then shares her schedule, her list of deadlines on the Google Calendar. So I know like, oh, next week we're going to be kind of slammed. Probably not the best time to take on 2 new clients, right? And
yeah,
so, yes, communication with your spouse, with your partner, with your roommates, whatever, with your
yep,
kids is really important. So it doesn't, for me, what I found over the years, so that I don't have any kind of angst towards the family. Like, man, I'm only working on stuff for everyone else, but I'm never working on stuff for me. So this way, like, I feel fulfilled. I'm still taking care of the family and the responsibilities I have, and we're all kind of on the same page. So yeah,
yeah.
communication is definitely key.
Yeah,
But yeah, so
because I
like
feel like we tend to want to like sometimes we can get really gung ho about this stuff, and we got the
oh yeah,
list or we've gotten all it down. And I think it's easy to just like start charging ahead, and you can get frustrated with the rest of your family because like you mentioned, like,
I
oh,
had
I
this
got
big
my stuff,
grand
I didn't
plan,
have
but I didn't
time. And now but
exactly
you forgot to communicate that to
tell the rest
them.
of us. Yeah, we kind of live here
So
too.
that's
Yeah.
something worth mentioning just while we're talking about because of that. Let's squeeze that in while we're talking. Because
Yeah,
that's
and a clear like examples of that, right? Like, man, you know what? I'm gonna do a bathroom renovation. I'm gonna retile, do all that stuff. But you forgot that your oldest kid is having a sleepover party this weekend as well. So that's where the communication breaks down and where we
oh yeah,
could possibly get into some challenges. So yeah, the planning stage to do stuff. And I'm not talking about like the daily task stuff, like grocery shopping. Like
yeah,
that's kind of what we know. Our weekly schedule. You probably like shop Wednesday, Fridays, but I'm talking about any kind of project stuff, like the things that need to be done eventually,
yeah,
be it work, personal, or family. So that's kind of how I look at the schedule. It's very clear, and I like to see those checklists kind of get filled up and start to disappear.
feels
Plus, that
good.
also gives me an insight of when I start to feel overwhelmed. Right? If I'm feeling, man, I'm tired, I'm feeling overwhelmed, and I look, I'm like, oh, it's because things are starting to get backed up, right? Like I'm not allocating enough time maybe for myself. I notice my workouts are starting to slip, or maybe I'm not sleeping enough because I'm starting to trying to catch up later at night on some of these things that should have been done earlier. So
Yeah,
I notice if I'm not scheduled, if it's not planned, then I'm always, as like Travis says, on my heels. Like I'm always playing catch up, and that can be very frustrating. And then all of a sudden it gets taken out on people that you love, or friends or neighbors or stuff like that, right? So yeah,
yeah,
that's kind of like how I map out my activities for the week, for the month. And like you said, auditing or reviewing is really important because you could easily kind of get down on yourself saying I'd never have enough time, or I'm always outward facing. But a lot of it just has to do that we didn't schedule any of it, right? And that's something that I have a talk with my spouse weekly on, like, hey, how are we feeling? Like, oh, a little overwhelmed. Like, did you get your walks in this week, right? Did you do any of your workouts? Did you get like some quiet? We call it quiet time. Basically, anything you want to do by yourself. No, it's like, okay, well, let's start there, right?
yeah. And having that weekly, having it documented also goes to show what happened. That you could get it to the end of the week and go, oh, I didn't do this, and this,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, for myself, it's easy for me to forget like all the other
Mm-hmm.
things that happened. So I'm just like, oh, I didn't do what I wanted or what I needed to do. But then I look down and I'm like,
Wow.
oh, I checked
Yeah.
this, and this came up, and we took care of that, and then we switched that, and wow, okay,
Yeah.
well, it was a productive week. Guess what?
Yeah.
That's good.
Let's celebrate. Yeah. It was a good
Yeah,
week.
yeah. Perspective. So
Exactly.
then now you were gonna talk about month to month.
Yeah. So month to month, it's basically an overhaul of that. So did I get the big three things I wanted to get done, 2 to 3 things this month? If not, usually it comes down to I wasn't planning small benchmarks weekly, right? So let's say it's a kitchen renovation, right? Or you're redoing the kitchen. Like, are we really going to wait till the last weekend to do all that? No. Okay. Can I separate that into 4 chunks? Yeah. The research chunk, going to the store, researching tiles, so on and so forth. Okay. And then what's really helped me over the years is establishing a rough timeline. How long is this really going to take me? Right. So I think we under expect, or have our expectations too high when it seems like, oh yeah, it took me like a weekend. Like, yeah, 4 months later, right? So it's like, okay. So having a realistic expectation of how long some of these tasks are going to take allows you to plug them into what week, what month that you have that time, right? Like you said, seasons. There's certain seasons that were slammed, maybe not the best time to do a big multi-month project. Other seasons like summer vacation, maybe it's a little bit slower. Now we can do something that's going to take 5 weekends in order to accomplish. So that's kind
And
of like the monthly. And I only have 1 or 2 or 3 things every month. Or again, this season of life, I'm parenting forward, right? My first priority is my kids and family. So it's not growing my business or making sure I do El Capitan as far as a big climbing trip. So that's the
yeah,
monthly. And then outside of that, quarterly, it's the further out I get, it's more of a small rudder change, right? So it's one of
yeah,
those things that if I make a small change, the ripple effect is big. So I'm just making sure I'm taking steps forward to my yearly goals. And again, I use goals lightly. It's not like these big grandeur things, but I did want to work out a little bit more this year. Well, what does that look like? Well, what did it look like last year? Okay, a little bit more than that. Maybe it's 5 days, maybe it's 50 days. As long as I'm on the path to that, then that's that little rudder change, right?
Yep.
But yeah, the weekly, it's a little bit more hands-on, but as we scale out, it's just small changes. So
Yeah. And I was gonna say something and I lost it. My brain just poof. See ya. See ya.
gotcha.
I'm out of
It
here.
happens. It
Um,
happens. But
yeah,
it's
the
like for me, it started like if you're like, man, Rob, I don't have an app. I'm not software savvy. Literally, it starts with this. I'll give you a super secret insider dad tip, right? This I'm holding up if you're on audio. This is a post-it note. So when I go over my daily or weekly, like what do I want to accomplish? It has to fit on this post-it note. If I'm writing like a college dissertation and it takes up more room, that's too much stuff, right? Because I'm still a dad and a partner and I want to take care of myself. So this is why it leads to 2 or 3 things a week, 2 or 3 things a month. So I started with post-it notes, right? That was one of my mentors that he shared, like, hey, the reason you're feeling overwhelmed is you are literally working a Google Docs work of stuff. Like anyone's going to feel overwhelmed. So what realistically can we thin out? And a lot of it would be like to haves or if I have time, well, what's a necessity? Let's start there. So
Yeah, well, and what you're saying is you'll see this in a lot of leadership books, or
Mhm.
business time management books. They talk about the rocks, like the big
Yeah.
rocks. So you like
Boulders. Yeah. What are
you
the
have
big boulders?
I love that visual of like you have a jar and you got
Mhm.
like all this like fine grained stuff. It's all the little stuff. Like I gotta sweep the floor, I gotta wipe the table, I gotta do the dishes.
Yeah, that's
And
the
then you got
chore.
like the medium sized rocks that you're like, oh, I gotta paint the that shelf over there and like, oh, we
I gotta
gotta take
refinish the
that photo,
deck, right? Stuff like that.
whatever, and then you got your big stuff like we're gonna renovate the baby's room, or we're gonna go buy a car or whatever
Mhm.
that like. And so if you tell somebody fill that jar up and you just pour the sand in and you set the little rocks in and you put the big rocks won't even fit, won't even
No.
touch the jar, you fill up. Well, if you prioritize and you make sure those pillars are in there, then you circle around it with all the medium stuff, and then that sand that's just gonna pour right in. It's gonna fill right in,
Mhm.
So it's like the time management thing. I love the analogies to stuff, so I love looking at that one. You guys can Google
No.
that, and you'll
Yeah, no, I love that. Plus visually, right? Like imagine taking big boulders out of your jar. That feels like you've accomplished something. Well, whereas taking 1 grand of sand out, you're like, man, this to-do list is never ending, let alone when am I ever going to get to those bigger projects? So bigger projects or harder things that are going to take a little bit more willpower to do, more time sensitive things. Like there's another kind of phrase, eat the frogs, kind of like doing the hard things first. So yeah, there's things that come easy to all of us. Like for me, cleaning, like I enjoy that. I want to clean the garage. When I feel stuck, I'll clean the whole house.
oh,
But
good for you. Yeah.
yeah, but good for me.
Some guys are like,
But
"Oh, you kidding
yeah,
me."
but like that's easy. Could I do that? Yeah, but what do I really need to do? What's really going to move kind of the flag, the football analogy, right? Like what's going to move the chains? And we should be doing that first when we have all the energy, first thing in the day, when we're not bombarded, when our willpower is full. And so as you're going through your list, yeah, kind of ballpark how much effort. And that's another thing about lists is like we have a lot of stuff to do, but we don't realize that some things are going to just take more mental willpower than others. And we need to
Yep.
prioritize those things first earlier in the day because
Yeah.
like filling out your kids transfer application from schools at 9 p.m. there's going to be a bunch of typos and that's going to be
Yeah.
rough. Whereas
Yeah.
sitting and playing with your kids in the evening a little bit easier, right? So
Yeah.
different energy load, so prioritize that way as well. So
And then the funny thing is, if you don't create these lists, you will find yourself constantly going to the little things because it's
yeah.
just like, I don't know, I can barely like maintain what I'm doing right now. So I'm on my heels. Like I'm just I forgot the dishes on the counter right there. Like,
Yeah.
oh, I forgot to answer this email. If you're at work, you're like, oh, I'll just keep answering emails all day. Well, you're never going to get to that project that you're supposed to get to if you don't
Exactly.
block that time out. So
Exactly. Yeah.
uh,
And
I'm a
so that's
fan.
another phrase, like if you can measure it, you can manage it. So if we're not recording stuff, if we're not writing things down and you wonder why things are kind of falling through the cracks, it's because we're not managing it because it's not front and center, right? It's not top of our awareness. So having somewhere where you can refer end of day, first thing in the morning to kind of look over your day, makes it easier to feel like you're accomplishing something during that day.
Yeah, yeah. And then another pro tip
Mhm.
for you guys. If you think it's only going to take you 5-10 minutes to put that IKEA shelf up on the wall,
No,
don't make that mistake. You'll learn as you go, and then you'll
you
realize,
do.
like, oh man, it
You
takes like
do.
8 more tools than you thought. If you're doing it right. So
And
I
it's
saw a reel about that. Somebody was like, oh, they look at it, it's like 9 a.m. They're like, I just have to put this one shelf up. And then it's like
I got
4 p.m. And they're
4
like,
p.m. Yeah.
I took 12 trips outside to go grab the drill and the level and then
And
the pencil and the so on and so
it's
forth.
so funny. The longer you're with like your partner, the longer they start to learn that whatever timeline you give them, they add like 3x to it, right? And Mo does this all the time. It's like, hey, how long do you think it's going to take? Probably an hour. Okay, I'll say 4 p.m. Right, and it's
Yeah.
like lunchtime, right? It's like,
Yeah.
and you know what? Yeah, it was 4
Down
p.m.
to the wire.
Down exactly to the wire. So obviously she knows how quickly or not quickly I work, but then that also leads to the lack of frustration on the family's part, right? Knowing that, hey, dad's going to need a larger chunk of time to do this task. Okay, great. Then we won't schedule anything during this time. Whereas if you say it takes 20 minutes and it does take 3 hours, everything else that was planned, not by you, but by your spouse, maybe kid activities, are now pushed back, right? So that's where we kind of get into this discussion. I use discussion in quotations, but the arguments and stuff of not having enough time, poor scheduling. And it's just because we didn't really think how long a certain task or activity would take. So always add buffer time. So it's better to be early than late, right? And that goes for your to-do list as well. So if you think you can finish
Oh
a
yeah.
task in 2 weeks, give yourself a month, right? If you think it's going to take a month, give yourself a quarter. That way you always have a little buffer time, and you could always finish early and then put in a short task before the
Yep.
next big project, right?
Yep. Give yourself margin. You will thank
Yes,
yourself
that's a
later.
great word. Yeah,
Everybody
margin.
will thank you for it later.
Yes. Yes.
Um, whew,
How
yeah.
about
Oh,
you,
that's
Travis?
cool.
How do you go about like planning your day, your weeks? Again, I'm this is just something I've always done. It can be overwhelming for a lot of dads, but I think the takeaway is just like, hey, you need to do something, right? You need to plan a certain way. So how do you plan your day, your week, your month?
Yep. Coming again, see, like this is where we differ in a way that I've been learning like over the years, right? And so I think this is a fun one to talk about because it's not like, oh yeah, I do the same thing, and that's
Yeah.
it.
But that's one
Okay,
of the
next
fun things
topic.
about our podcast is we don't do a lot of the same thing, right?
But
Even
we
though we
are
have
very much the same, cut from the same
yeah,
cloth.
we're very similar, but we
Yeah,
don't do the same thing. So
yeah. So the having been what's the best way to put this? I'm a recovering lazy individual.
gotcha.
uh, it's just it's in my blood. So I always have to fight that every day. But so I have started doing some things. Back when I was an executive at another company, I had to do the time blocking thing, and so then
Mm,
I used it in work, but I did not take that to my next job. I did not take that to my family life. And
mm,
I read a book called Order in Your Private World that was fantastic. And it just
mm,
talked basically a lot about that, but just like in every facet of your life.
mhm,
Um, and my boss at the time, he was like, hey, I remember this is one of those ones that sticks with me, right? Like I was at work, it was like 6:30 p.m. and I was like, yeah, I'm just about to head out. And he's like, why are you still here? I'm like, oh, I was like, doing like I was on my
working
phone earlier. Like I'm just getting stuff done now. And he's like, well, if you weren't on your phone, you could be home with your family and your kid right now. And I was
light
like, oh
light bulb
yeah.
moment. Mhm.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So young Travis, like learning things that are very helpful now, right?
Yeah.
And so we talked about time blocking
Mhm.
like a year and a half ago or so. And I was like, yeah, I got to do a little better at that. And I don't use the Google Calendar. My wife is the very organized one. So this
Mhm.
is music to her ears when you're talking like, oh yeah, that would be great if Travis did that. But not really. It's like she has tossed a lot of her schedule into the Google Calendar, so I get the notifications on
So
things.
you know what
I'm like,
she's
oh,
doing. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's not as dialed in like yours in the sense of she's like she knows that I haven't adopted that.
Mhm.
I love the idea and the concept. Honestly, if I'm being honest, I think I'm a little overwhelmed by like the transferring of all this data onto Google, and then what if it works or what if it doesn't?
So
And
real quick on
yeah,
that note, maybe to help you guys, or if you're similar at home, another
yeah,
thing we do, and some people might say it's redundancy, but for us, it's like it's just another way to see something. So we have a Google
yes,
Calendar, but we also have a calendar,
yep,
the
yep,
27 by 18 calendar that's up on the
yep,
wall. And
yep.
so just one word like volleyball, 3 p.m., right?
And so
Client one.
that's exactly where I was headed with that. So
Perfect.
it is nice. It's a fantastic redundancy because sometimes I get the buzz on the watch and it's like giving me a reminder a week in advance. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, there's a pediatrician appointment next week. Oh yeah.
Okay, got
And then
that.
oh, there it is on the calendar, just like she said, So we have a calendar in the kitchen that has all of our scheduled stuff that we have to
Mhm.
be at. But then a little like a month ago, I was like, man, we have so many projects and things that we need to get done or things that we're trying
Mhm.
to maintain and manage. And those things aren't on the calendar. They're not on the events
Mm.
calendar, right? And with work, like balancing the time at home and time at work, like
Yeah.
adjusting my schedule there so that I'm not, just making money and not spending any time with my family or vice versa. Um, I was like, hey, you know what? Deb's gonna love this because she's organizational, but I'll just surprise her. But basically, um, I had like an extra like metal shelf, but it's just like it's almost like a whiteboard, but black,
Okay.
and
Oh,
like
nice.
from the
Okay.
tool box. And I was like, okay, I I attached that to the wall and bought a bunch of magnets. They're just like little white square magnets
Mhm.
and just set them down. It's like it looks like an Excel sheet. But see, that's the thing. It's
Nice.
weird because I use my phone for all of our podcast notes, and that's easy for me. I use it for like tracking food, but then for some reason, I really like writing things down and seeing it. I'm very
Yeah.
visual, so I got to see it. And so for that, I started writing all the stuff down that is either like the little big and medium sized rocks, right?
Mhm.
So we have stuff like watering the plants out front and
Mhm.
washing the van, washing the
Mhm.
truck, laundry, the
And you
Costco.
can see it now. Now it's a visual. Every
Yep,
time you walk
it's
past
all
that
there.
board, it reminds you. That's
And
awesome.
the way I like to split it up is another, again, a way that I learned as far as like prioritizing stuff back when I was in that executive job was um, you split into three categories. For me, this helps in my brain as far as basically it's things that I'm doing now, things that are not now, and things that are never. So that was the way that they put it,
I
and I've
love it.
always used that when I'm writing stuff in book, like when I'm in this zone. So it's now, not now, and never. So the never stuff doesn't mean never, but it means like this is going to take up no brain space, but it's logged, so it won't be forgotten, and
Yep.
it can be revisited at any point. It can be moved out of that category.
Mhm.
So we have a bunch of house projects, for example, the things that need to be done, things that we'd like to be done, and we put a lot of those on there. So we know, like when we look at that board, Deb can see like Travis wants to do that project. Travis wants to do that project. Oh, I want to do this project. I'm going to put that on there, but it's
Mhm.
not now. And
Yeah.
then the not now stuff is like, well, I just washed the car last week. I took that off the list, and that's going on not now because it's
You
not
just
this
did it.
week, but
Yeah, you
it's
did it.
but it's coming up. Like I'm going to have to do it again in a month or whatever.
Mhm.
And so a lot of that stuff moves over to the not now, or it gets crossed off altogether. And then of course the now is everything for this week. So what am I
Yeah.
thinking of doing this week? And we talk on Sunday, we talk on Monday. And then as the week goes on, like, we reassess, right? Oh, that took me a little longer than I thought. I want to move
Mhm.
that over to not now because I'm not going to be able to get that done.
Yep.
Or, oh, you know what? There's the thing I forgot. Let's add that to now, and we're going to take this one off because that's not going to all work right in this
Mhm.
space. So that's our visual. So you can put it on your fridge, you can do whatever you want, but that's what I like, just being able to see it, erase it, move it.
Yeah. And I
Um,
like it placed somewhere in the house that you frequent, right? So
yeah,
that that's the
it's
reminder.
dead center of the house, in the most middle spot of the entire house. You
That's
walk past it, wherever you go in the house, you will pass it. So
perfect. Perfect.
it's perfect. So yeah, it's that's the way that we've been doing it, and I'm really enjoying that. That's only been lately, but it has dropped that mental load quite a bit because
Yeah, and
you
it's about
go,
finding
okay,
something that you're willing to do that's simple, right? So if tech's not for you, like Travis said, then don't try to get better at that because that's going to be frustrating, right? So
yeah,
now you got to learn something new. So the idea is just like what kind of reminders, what's the lowest hanging fruit to help you organize your day, your week, and that organization actually gives you the time freedom, right? Because you're not on your heels and you're not spending late nights doing projects which should be spent with family or doing stuff that you love, right? So by organizing your schedule, your time, you actually find yourself like, oh wow, I've got an hour and it's allocated as anything. Like, man, I've never had an anything hour before. But if you start to
yeah.
schedule your day like that, you can. You definitely can.
Yep, yep. So, one little I wanna change the we're talking about time
Hmm.
organization,
Hmm.
and I do wanna switch over to a little bit other stuff,
Sure.
but before I ask, that, I wanna check in and see if there was anything you wanted to add in regards to, you talked about weekly, you talked about monthly, but then, like, those quarterly things. Just,
Yeah.
personally, what do you find that you're going, "Hey, this is something that we're gonna do quarterly," or, "This is something that I need to put in there?" Well, are there
Gotcha.
certain
Yeah.
types of things that you're always putting on the list for,
So
like, once every 3 or 4
So
months?
once, yeah, once every 3 to 4 months. If it's family, usually it's around sports. We have kids that are involved in sports, and the season is usually 3 to 4 months. So that would be a quarterly project, making sure that we have the weekends already booked, who's doing drop offs, pickups. So that's a quarterly project. Another quarterly project might be for me personally. Maybe I have a new corporate client, and the initial contract is going to be a 3 month contract. So I want to make sure that I'm reviewing at the end of the quarter, make sure I'm touching base with them. Personally, I might be doing the 75 hard, but a version of it that's 90 days. So when I program, we can program in 8, 10 week intervals, 12-week intervals, which puts us at 3 months, right? Which is roughly the same time lot. So for my fitness or wellness, like, hey, did I abide to the go for 2 walks a week for 12 weeks? So that would be kind of the quarterly. And again, there's only 2 or 3 of them. And it's, if not, then how can I move the rudder just a little bit so that we can match our end of the year goal? But if for you, you're like, man, Rob, Travis, I'm already overwhelmed. Do I need daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly? No, just start with today, right?
Yeah,
What's our list for today? What's our list for
yeah,
this week? And then just build from there once it becomes a habit, right?
absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I love that. And, don't forget, as soon as you said that, the one thing I would say that it's not, maybe it's quarterly, like it's good to be rechecking in on it, but something
Mhm.
that we've been trying to do, when you have a bunch of kids and it's chaos, right? We
Yeah.
do this at the beginning of the year too, but trying to figure out like when's the next trip going to be for us,
Yeah.
like
Like that's
our
another
like
thing, planning
family,
family outings.
like
Mhm.
big family things. Like,
Mhm.
where do we want to go? What do we want to see?
Yeah,
Um,
and a lot of that needs planning, right? Financially, how much do we need to save every 2 weeks, every month in order to get that? That would be an
yeah,
example of a quarterly or bi-yearly kind of thing. Like, okay, if we know we're going to Texas in 2026 spring break then for
yeah,
a volleyball competition, like, well, let's make that a week vacation. Okay, what do we need to do financially, schedule wise, with our work, with our house in order to do that? So that's something
yeah.
that's planned that far out.
Yeah, for sure. So, um, now to change the topic a little bit, not the topic, but as far as the organization goes,
Mhm.
how about instead of time, what does this look like for you, like around the house, in the garage, like when it comes to organizing your space? Like,
Ah,
let's
okay.
get some Marie Kondo
Okay. So
thoughts.
that's the thing. I'm if you watch any of our podcasts visually, I have like one of one color that you'll see. It's probably a shade of gray or black. Recently I've been dabbling with red. But I'm
Ooh,
yeah, I try to be a minimalist. And so a couple things as far as organization is if it doesn't get touched within 6 months, it's no longer in the house. So that's another way
ah,
to clean it out. Yeah. So and that goes kind of for everyone. And it's
yeah,
one of the things that I learned that if no one mentions, hey, dad, have you seen this for 6 months? They're not going to mention it a year from now, 2 years from now, a month
yeah,
from now. And so that's one thing is having kind of like that 6 month timeline. Another thing as far as organizing stuff is everything has its place, right? So keys have its place, wallets have its place, backpacks have its place. Everything has its place, so that when the question comes up, Dad, have you seen dot dot dot? That question doesn't come up anymore because it has its place. And so we very rarely have a discussion of, oh man, have you seen my water bottle for school or lunchbox, or where's our camping gear, right? Everything in the house has its place. It doesn't mean we don't have a catch-all drawer here and there. We do.
Yeah.
We're people, right?
Yeah.
But that's how we kind of organize. That's how I organize the stuff. So if you look at my drawers, it's very much minimalist. Everything's folded the same way. Everything looks the same way. I try to minimize my energy that is needed to make decisions for big decisions. So I don't want to say I don't care, but I don't put a lot of energy on clothing, eating too, as long as it hits the protein, carb, fat that I'm looking for. I'm not very picky about that. And people will tell me like I'm the type that could eat the same breakfast every day, same lunch every day.
Oh, that sounds
I
like
know.
death to me.
I'm okay with that because it allows, again, my energy. And every parent knows what's the number one question that we have every day. What are we having for dinner?
What are we gonna
Right? Like,
eat?
what are we gonna eat? So if I can minimize that, excellent. So yeah,
Your
very
coffee
organized.
mugs have a nice little home over there. Wow, they look
Like
so
that.
warm.
Hey, thanks to
Comfortable.
Travis right there. But that's how we organize stuff at home. Now, does it get messy? Yes, we have 3 kids. It gets messy, but we allocate time every day to clean up, right? So that the first thing in the morning, we start our day in a kind of clean and organized fashion. And as kind of the loose ends start to loosen up, we take time to do it. So one of the things that we kind of implement here, at least I do, and I'm trying to teach the kid about the 2-minute rule. So as they're walking throughout their day, maybe it's at the home on the weekend, if it's something that needs to be done, tidied up, put away, cleaned up, and it takes 2 minutes or less, you do it right then. So that stops the end of the day, all hands on deck kind of cleaning. So as they go throughout the day and you see them like, oh, they're putting their shoes away, putting them in the right cubbies so that we don't have a pile of like 30 shoes in the front of the door. Or maybe it's dishes. Okay, I just finished a snack. Yeah, I can wash my plate, dry my plate, and put it away all under 2 minutes. Then it helps mom and dad. So that's kind of one of those underlining, I guess it would be part of our organization. Is like, how do we keep everything tidy? Well, we tidy as we go versus just one big lump sum laundry day for 50 pounds of laundry on a Saturday or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. See, I always was good at, I've always been good at starting things and then not finishing them.
I have the same challenge.
What that equates to though is, Deb's gonna laugh when she listens to this. Is we have a lot of stuff everywhere. Like, oh yeah, because I'm Mr. like art, like creativity guy.
Yeah. And it's gonna be messy.
Zero analysis.
It's gonna be messy. Yeah.
That's why people like me need people like Deb and you in our lives.
There you go.
To keep us from exploding in a ball of chaos. That happens a lot. And so what I've been working on, the muscle I'm trying to stretch lately has been like, hey, it's time to let go. Like for some reason, this practice started and helped me in regards to reading books. Like, so as I've been reading, it used to be like, I would get stuck on a book and I would get bored, but I was like, I committed to this. I read the book. I have to read the book. And then I'd be like, I don't want to read this book. And I just wouldn't read books anymore. So I'd be like, it's been 8 months and I don't want to finish the book.
And you won't start another book because you haven't finished this book.
So I just started, somebody a while back, like reminded me, they were like, you don't have to finish books. Like just stop, just get rid of it. You don't have to know. Like if you don't like it, then Garrett says stop it.
And I was like, librarian standing behind you, breathing on your shoulder, right?
Yeah. So I stopped doing that. Like I was flying, I've been flying through some books because I'm like, okay, I tried that one and that's not it. Well, the same goes for projects. So I've tried to transfer that over to like, there are projects I've tried starting like in the shop, like other like creative avenues, things that I'm like, that I'm not touching it. I'm not doing it. I don't have the mental space for that anymore.
Or maybe like your want changes too, right? Like I don't want to do that anymore, right?
Yeah. So I have a couple projects in the shop where I'm like, okay, I got to somehow just get rid of it. And at first it was like, well, that's irresponsible because you paid money for that, Travis, like things like that. And it's like, yeah, but how much mental load, how much just physical space is all that taking up that would provide a whole lot of freedom. Like, yeah, you
Yep.
tried it, took your chance and whatever. Like,
Yep.
so that was my tip. That's my tip to myself and to others out there. What is the thing that you just don't have the time or the space for physically, whatever? It's time to say goodbye. Bless somebody else with it. If it's something
And
of
you,
value, great. Somebody else can rock it.
I think that's a big kind of like, hey, if you guys listen through this podcast again, that's the one that I want to highlight is it's not quitting, you're just stopping because you realize that A, you don't want to do it anymore, or the benefit wasn't what you thought it would be, or you know what, I could be doing something else. And
Yeah.
so being able to realize that early allows you to shift, right? Versus like, man, I've already put like 2K into this project. It's been 3 months now. Like as Mo, as like we play cards, so it's like, oh, you know, now I'm pot committed. Now I have to go. I have to finish. It's like, no, our life is not a poker game. Like you can stop. Like you can literally just stop and start something else.
Yep. Yep. And I think that's the perfect time to stop for
Ah,
today.
look
I
at
think
that softball pitch right there.
whoopah, out of the park, you
That was
know. We're
perfect.
not
That was perfect.
professionals.
No, we're not gurus. We're
We are
just
just
two
two
dads
dads
in
in
real
real
life.
life.